Rain hammered the parking lot outside the Iron Brotherhood Motorcycle Club. Inside, 12 men sat around a scarred wooden table discussing numbers that didn't add up and bills that needed paying. It was 11:50 on a Sunday night, and most of them wanted to be home. Marcus Cross, who everyone called Reaper, sat at the head of the table. 43 years old with a scar that ran from his left eyebrow to his jaw. President of the chapter for 6 years. He'd earned the position through loyalty, not fear, though fear had its place. "We're short on the property tax," Jake Morrison was saying. Bull, they called him, Sergeant at Arms, built like his nickname suggested. $2,000, due Friday. The charity ride brought in 4, Chain said, the club's cook. Tattoos covered both arms. "But that's earmarked for the Veterans Hospital." "We don't touch charity money." Reaper's voice carried the kind of quiet that made men listen. "Never have, never will." Around the table, heads nodded. The Iron Brotherhood had a reputation. Some of it deserved, some of it not. But they had rules, lines they didn't cross. The knock came at 11:52. Tentative, almost apologetic, like whoever stood outside wasn't sure they should be there. Everyone stopped talking. In a motorcycle club, unexpected knocks at midnight meant one of 3 things: police, rival clubs, or trouble that hadn't announced itself yet. Bull stood. His hand didn't go to his weapon, but it was close. "I got it." He walked to the door, heavy steel reinforced, a peephole that had seen better days. He looked through it and froze. "Reaper." Something in Bull's voice made every man at that table tense. "What is it?" "You need to see this." Reaper crossed the room in 4 strides, looked through the peephole, saw what Bull saw: a child, standing in the rain, couldn't be more than 9 years old, soaking wet, shivering, his clothes torn, a fresh bruise on his left cheek, purple and angry. But what stopped Reaper's breath was what the boy carried: a baby, wrapped in a thin blanket that was already soaked through. The infant couldn't be more than a year old. Bull pulled the door open. The boy looked up at them, brown eyes too old for his face, the kind of eyes that had seen things no child should see. "Please," the boy whispered. His voice barely carried over the rain. "Can you hide my sister for one night?" Water dripped from his hair onto the concrete. "He's going to find us." The boy's voice cracked. "He said he'd kill her. Please." Behind Bull, Reaper appeared. 6'2" of leather and muscle and scars. Most kids would have run. This one stood his ground, held his sister closer. "Come inside," Reaper said. "Get out of the rain." The boy hesitated, just for a moment. His eyes darted past them, scanning the clubhouse, looking for threats, calculating odds. 9 years old and already thinking like someone running for his life. Then he stepped across the threshold. Water puddled on the floor beneath him. The baby in his arms started to whimper, a soft, weak sound that cut through the silence in that room like a blade. 12 hardened bikers stared at 2 children, men who'd seen combat, done time, buried friends, all of them frozen by the sight of a boy barely tall enough to reach their belt buckles holding a baby, like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. "Chains!" Reaper's voice snapped everyone back. "Get towels. Bull, heat some milk, not too hot." He looked at the boy, really looked at him. Torn jeans, sneakers with holes, a jacket that was 3 sizes too small. The bruise on his face was fresh, hours old, maybe less. "What's your name?" "Ethan." The boy's teeth were chattering. "Ethan Carter. This is Lily. She's 14 months. I'm Reaper. We're going to help you, but I need to know what's going on. Who's after you?" Ethan's face crumpled. For just a second, he looked like what he was, a 9-year-old boy who'd reached the end of his rope. "My stepdad, Victor Kane. He got out of prison this afternoon." The baby Lily cried louder, a thin wail that spoke of hunger and cold and fear she was too young to understand. "He came to our foster home," Ethan continued. His voice steadied like he'd practiced this. "Said he was taking us home, but I heard him on the phone. He said he was going to finish what he started with Lily. Finish what he started. Reaper's voice went quiet, dangerous quiet. What does that mean? Ethan looked up at him. Those old eyes. 2 years ago, Victor threw Lily against a wall. She was just a baby, 2 months old. That's why he went to prison. But now he's out, and the judge gave him custody because mom's dead and we don't have anyone else. The room was silent. Every man there understood exactly what finish what he started meant. Chains returned with towels. Bull brought a bottle, tested the temperature on his wrist like he'd done it 1,000 times before. He had a daughter, 8 years old, lived with her mother in Nevada. He saw her twice a year if he was lucky. Bull handed the bottle to Ethan. The boy didn't take it. Lily first, he said. She needs to drink. He cradled his sister, adjusted the bottle, tilted it just right. Lily latched on drinking desperately. Ethan's hands shook, but he held her steady. Only after she'd had several long pulls did Ethan accept the towel chains offered. Wrapped it around himself, one-handed, never letting go of his sister. When's the last time you ate? Reaper asked. Yesterday morning. Yesterday morning. Bull's jaw clenched. Today's Sunday. Yes, sir. You've been running since this afternoon. Ethan nodded. I didn't know where to go. Victor has a friend who's a cop, Officer Sullivan, and the social workers sent us back to him. They don't listen. Nobody listens. Reaper and Bull exchanged looks, no words needed. They both knew what it meant when the system was rigged from the inside. Ethan. Reaper pulled a chair over, sat down so he was eye level with the boy. Why here? Why the Iron Brotherhood? The question that mattered. The one that would tell them if this was legitimate or something else. Ethan's voice got small. Last summer, you guys did a toy drive at Riverside Park. You gave me a stuffed bear. You were nice to me. You didn't have to be, but you were. Chains remembered. July. Hot as hell. They'd set up tables, given away toys to kids whose parents couldn't afford much. Some outreach thing the city had asked them to do. Good PR, they'd been told. And I heard some men talking at the foster home, Ethan continued. They said the Iron Brotherhood protects their own. So I thought maybe if I asked you might protect us too, just for one night, until I can figure out what to do. The innocence of it broke something in that room. This child had walked 3 hours through the rain, carrying his baby sister, because he'd remembered a stuffed bear and a few kind words. Because he'd heard that bikers protected their own and thought maybe that protection could extend to 2 kids nobody wanted. Reaper stood, looked at his brothers, saw the same thing in every face. Anger, determination, the kind of resolve that came when a line was crossed that shouldn't have been. Ethan, we're going to do more than hide you for one night. We're going to make sure you and Lily are safe for as long as it's him. Really, hope crept into Ethan's voice. Fragile hope, the kind that had been broken before. You mean it. I mean it, but I need you to tell me everything. Where's this foster home? What's Victor driving? What happened when you left? Ethan adjusted his grip on Lily. She'd finished, the bottle was already falling asleep against his chest. We're at Mrs. Patterson's house on Maple Street. It's a foster home, 6 kids. Her husband, Dale, he's Victor's brother-in-law. He called Victor this afternoon, told him we were there. Victor drives a black Ford F-150. Knew he was drunk when he found us gone. That was around 9. I've been walking for 3 hours. I didn't want to take the main roads in case he was looking. 3 hours, carrying a baby, in the rain, 9 years old. Reaper looked at his watch, 12:15. We got it maybe 3 hours before he starts checking everywhere, he said to Bull. What's the play? First we get these kids warm and safe, then we figure out our next move. But understand this. Bull looked around the room. We just became targets. Victor's coming at us hard. The law might be on his side. Anyone who's not comfortable with this can walk now, no judgment. Nobody moved. Not Chains, not Viper, Not Razor, not Ghost, the oldest member who sat in the back with gray in his beard and eyes that had seen too much. Not a single man stood to leave. Good, Reaper said, because we're about to go to war for two kids we just met, and I don't plan on losing. Ethan sat on an old couch wrapped in a blanket too big for him. An Iron Brotherhood t-shirt hung to his knees. Someone had found dried clothes for Lily. She was in his lap, finely warm, making soft cooing sounds as she fought sleep. Chains appeared with plates, scrambled eggs, toast, bacon, orange juice. He set them on the table in front of Ethan. Eat, Chains said, not unkind but firm. Both of you. Ethan stared at the food like it might disappear. The baby needs diapers, someone said. Viper, a younger member with ink covering his neck. And formula, and probably a doctor. She feels warm. Can't risk being seen buying baby supplies at midnight, Reaper said. Too suspicious. We'll make it work until morning. She's okay. Ethan's voice was quiet but certain. I've been taking care of her since Mom died. I know what she needs. The casual way he said it, like raising a 14-month-old baby at age 9 was normal. Like he hadn't just been forced to become a parent before he'd even finished elementary school. Several of the bikers looked away, jaws clenched, hands curled into fists. Bull sat down next to Ethan. This close, he could see the exhaustion in the kid's face. The hollow look of someone who hadn't slept well in months. You've done amazing, Bull said, but you shouldn't have had to. You're 9 years old. I'm almost 10. Ethan's voice was defensive, protective. And somebody has to take care of Lily. Victor won't. He hates her. Why? Razor asked. He was young, 24, still learning what the club really stood for. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. He blinked them back, hard. Because she's not his. My mom had Lily with someone else. Victor always said Lily was proof Mom cheated. He said Lily ruined everything. That's why he threw her. He was trying to kill her. The words hung in the air, cold, factual, delivered by a 9-year-old who'd learned to speak truth without breaking. Silence fell over the clubhouse. The kind of silence that came before violence, before decisions that couldn't be undone. Finally, Ghost spoke. He didn't talk much. When he did, people listened. I got a cabin 40 miles north, off the grid. We could move the kids there. That's option 1, Reaper acknowledged, but we need to know more. Bull, find out everything you can about Victor Kane. Bull pulled out his phone, started typing. The glow illuminated his face in the dim clubhouse. Ethan watched with wide eyes, like he couldn't quite believe this was happening. Are you really going to help us? Reaper sat down across from him, leaned forward, elbows on knees. You know what the Iron Brotherhood is really about? Reaper asked. People think we're criminals. Some of that's true. We've done things, made mistakes, but we got a code. We protect people who can't protect themselves, especially kids. So yeah, we're going to help you. But what if Victor finds us? What if the police make you give us back? We'll deal with that, but I promise you this. We're not handing you over to someone who wants to hurt you, not without a fight. Ethan's lip trembled. He'd been holding it together for so long, running on adrenaline and fear and the desperate need to keep Lily safe. But this simple statement, this promise from a scarred biker in a leather vest finally broke through his defenses. He started crying. Quiet tears that rolled down his cheeks as he clutched Lily close. Chains put a gentle hand on Ethan's shoulder. It's okay, kid. Let it out. You've been strong for way too long. Ethan cried, not loud, not dramatic, just the exhausted tears of a child who'd finally found someone who would stand between him and the monster. After a few minutes, he wiped his face, checked on Lily. She was asleep, her tiny fist gripping his shirt. How long have you been scared? Chains asked softly. Since Mom died. 6 months ago. She overdosed. Pills. I think she did it on purpose because she couldn't handle Victor being in prison and us being in foster care and everything. That wasn't your fault, Reaper said firmly. I know. Ethan's voice was small, but it feels like it was. And then Victor got out early. Good behavior, they said, and the judge said he deserved another chance. But we're not even his real kids. Why did they give us to him? Bull looked up from his phones. His expression was dark. Victor Kane, age 37, arrested 4 times for domestic violence, convicted of child endangerment 2 years ago, sentenced to 10 years, served 2, released early. He scrolled further. There's more. His brother-in-law is Dale Patterson, probably the foster home lady's husband. And his best friend is Officer Brad Sullivan with City Police. Reaper's expression went cold. So the system's rigged against these kids from the start. Looks that way. Then we're on our own. Reaper looked around the room. Everyone understand we're about to go against the law, social services, maybe cops. If we get caught harboring these kids, we're looking at kidnapping charges. The club could get shut down. Worth it, Chain said immediately. One by one, every biker nodded. They were in. Ethan watched with something like, you'd really risk all that for us, Reaper leaned forward. The measure of a man isn't what he does when it's easy. It's what he does when it costs him something. This costs us something, but it's still right. Lily started fussing, a soft whimper in her sleep. Ethan immediately started rocking her, humming softly. This scared 9-year-old became completely focused on his baby sister's comfort. The transformation was instant, complete. The fear left his face, the exhaustion, all of it replaced by pure concentration on making sure Lily was okay. He's good with her, Ghost observed. His voice was quiet, thoughtful. Around 2 in the morning, Ethan's eyes started drooping. He fought it, jerking awake every time his head nodded forward. Kid needs sleep, Bull said. There's a room in the back, Chains offered. Got a bed and a lock on the door. Ethan looked up, alert again. A lock. Lock on the inside, Chains clarified, so you can lock yourself in. Nobody gets in without you opening the door. Ethan looked like he might cry again. Okay, thank you. Chains led them to the back room. Small, just a bed, a dresser, and a barred window. But it was clean, warm, secure. You need anything, you just yell, Chains said. Someone will be right outside all night. All night. All night, we're doing shifts. You're not alone anymore, Ethan. After Chains left, Ethan finally let himself relax, just a fraction. He laid Lily down on the bed, built a barrier of pillows around her so she wouldn't roll off. Then he climbed in beside her. She immediately curled into him, her tiny fist gripping his shirt, seeking warmth, safety, the comfort of the only constant in her short life. We're safe, Lily, Ethan whispered. The scary men are protecting us. We're going to be okay. For the first time in 6 months, Ethan closed his eyes and believed it. Morning came gray and cold. Ethan woke to the smell of coffee and bacon. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he felt Lily curled against him, and everything came rushing back. He sat up carefully. His clothes from last night hung on a chair. Clean, dry. Someone had washed them. A knock at the door. Ethan, you awake? Bull's voice. Yeah. Can I come in? Okay. Bull entered with a tray. Scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, orange juice, and a bottle of formula for Lily. Ethan stared. You made breakfast. Chains did. He used to be a cook. Don't let the tattoos fool you. Ethan took the tray with shaking hands. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We need to talk about what happens next. Fear flickered in Ethan's eyes. Are you sending us back? Hell no. But we can't keep you here long term. It's not safe. So we've been working on a plan. Before Bull could explain, Lily woke up. She looked around with wide eyes, lower lip trembling. Strange place. Strange smells. Ethan immediately scooped her up, bouncing her gently. It's okay, Lily. We're safe. Look, there's a bottle. He held the bottle while she drank. his hands steady despite his fear. Bull watched this, a 9-year-old boy who knew exactly how to care for an infant, who put her needs before his own without thinking, who'd literally run through a storm to save her. "You're a good brother, Ethan. I'm all she has." "Not anymore. Now you got us too." They went to the main room. Reaper and several others were gathered around a table. A laptop. Paper spread everywhere. Reaper looked up. "Morning, kid. Sleep okay?" "Better than I have in months." "Good. Sit down. We need to talk about Victor." Ethan sat, keeping Lily close. "Did something happen?" "He filed a missing persons report at 6 this morning. Claimed you kidnapped your sister. He's got police, social services, and half the town looking. Your faces are going to be on the news by noon." Ethan's face went white. "So we have to go back." "No, but we need to be smart. Right now, legally, Victor has custody. If we're found with you, we're in deep trouble. But there might be another way." "What way?" Reaper pulled out a file. "We've been digging into Victor's background. 3 months before prison, he was investigated for illegal gambling. Charges were dropped, but the case file mentions associates, money laundering, connections to bad people." "I don't understand." "It means Victor isn't just an abusive stepdad. He's connected to organized crime. And that gives us leverage." Bull leaned forward. "Ethan, we need you to tell us everything about Victor's friends, his business, anywhere he took you, phone calls, visitors, anything." Ethan frowned, thinking hard. "There was a man who came to the house a lot. Uncle Vinny, Victor called him. But he wasn't our uncle. He had a big car and wore a suit. He and Victor would talk in the garage for hours." "What did they talk about?" "I don't know. They always sent me away. But sometimes Victor would leave at night with big gym bags, heavy ones. He'd carry them carefully." Reaper and Bull exchanged looks. "Money or drugs?" "Probably money. If Victor's running with Vinny Moretti, he's involved in something bigger." "Who's Vinny Moretti?" Ethan asked. "A very bad man," Reaper said. "The kind who makes people disappear. If we can prove Victor's still working with him, we can get his custody revoked." "But how?" The judge already decided. The judge decided based on incomplete information. If we can show Victor's involved in criminal activity, if we can prove he's a danger, the court will reconsider. "That's going to take time," Ghost pointed out. He'd been silent until now. "Days, maybe weeks." "My cabin," Ghost said. "Off the grid. Nobody knows about it except us." Ethan looked at these dangerous men planning a legal strategy to protect two kids they didn't know. Men who were risking everything. "Why are you doing all this?" Reaper sat across from him. "You know what the Iron Brotherhood is really about? Brotherhood. Being there when things get hard. Every man here has a story about when they needed help and nobody was there, or when someone was there and it changed everything. We're here for you because that's what we do. We're the people who show up when everyone else walks away." "But you don't even know us." "Doesn't matter. You needed help. You came to us. Now you're part of our family, and we protect family." Ethan's eyes filled with tears again. He'd been holding it together for so long, running on empty, being strong for Lily, never letting himself feel because feeling meant breaking. But this simple statement finally broke through. He started crying, clutching Lily close, 6 months of grief and fear and exhaustion pouring out. Chains put a gentle hand on his shoulder. "It's okay, kid. Let it out. You've been strong for way too long." After Ethan calmed down, they discussed logistics. Ghost would take Ethan and Lily to his cabin that afternoon. Reaper would contact a lawyer, Rachel Thornton. She specialized in family law and owed the club a favor. Meanwhile, other members would quietly investigate Victor's activities, follow him, document everything, build a case. "What if Victor finds us before you get evidence?" Ethan asked. Reaper's expression went hard. "Then he goes through us, all of us, and trust me, that's not a fight he's going to win." Around noon, a news alert popped up on Bull's phone. He watched it, face darkening. "What?" Reaper asked. Bull turned the phone around. Ethan's and Lily's faces filled the screen. School photo for Ethan, baby picture for Lily, a reporter's voice, local man desperately seeks missing children. Victor's face appeared, looking concerned, worried, the perfect picture of a distraught father. "I just got my kids back," Victor said to the camera, tears in his eyes. "I've been working so hard to be a better man, and now they're gone. Ethan, if you see this, please come home. I love you both." Ethan made a sound like a wounded animal. "He's lying. He doesn't love us. He's never loved us." "We know," Reaper said gently, "but everyone watching doesn't know. They think you ran away, that you're confused, scared. They think I kidnapped my sister. For now, but not for long, we're going to expose him for exactly what he is." Reaper closed the laptop, looked at Ethan with those hard, scarred eyes that had seen too much. "You trust me?" Ethan nodded. "Yes." "Then trust me when I say this. We're going to win. It might take time. It might get ugly, but we're going to win." That afternoon, as Ghost prepared to take Ethan and Lily to the cabin, Ethan paused at the clubhouse door. He looked back at Reaper. "Thank you for believing me, for helping us." Reaper walked over, crouched down to eye level. "Listen to me, kid. You're brave. Braver than most adults I know. You kept your sister safe when everyone else failed. You found help when the world told you there was none. You're a fighter, and fighters, we take care of each other." Ethan nodded, wiping his eyes, then he squared his shoulders, adjusted his hold on Lily, and followed Ghost out to a truck that would take them to safety. As they drove away, Chain stood beside Reaper. "We're really doing this, going up against cops, social services, Victor's connections. Yeah, it's going to get messy. I know. We could lose everything." Reaper watched the truck disappear down the road. "We could, but those kids already lost everything. So we're their last chance. And I'll be damned if we let them down." Behind him, every Iron Brotherhood member nodded. They were in this fight now, all the way to the end. Whatever it took. Ghost Cabin was exactly as advertised. Off the grid, no neighbors for miles, no cell service. Just trees and a stream and silence that felt like another world. Ethan stood on the porch holding Lily, staring at the forest. He'd never seen this much green, this much space. In the city, danger came from every direction. Here, danger would have to find them first. "It's safe here," Ghost said, unlocking the door. "Nobody knows about this place except the club." Inside was simple but comfortable. A main room with a fireplace, a kitchen, 2 bedrooms. Ghost showed Ethan how everything worked. The propane stove, the wood-burning fireplace, the emergency radio. "This stays on channel 7, Ghost explained. His voice was rough, underused, like talking was something he did only when necessary. "If anything happens, you call. Someone's always listening." Ethan nodded. Lily squirmed in his arms, fussing. "She hungry?" Ghost asked. "Probably, and needs a diaper change." Ghost had brought supplies, formula, diapers, baby food, clothes, toys, books, everything spread out on the kitchen table like Christmas had come early. Ethan stared at it all. "You guys thought of everything. We take care of our own, and you're ours now." After Ghost left, Ethan found himself alone with Lily for the first time since that night in the rain. He fed her, changed her, got her settled for a nap. Then he sat on the couch and just stopped. For 6 months he'd been running from grief, from fear, from Victor, taking care of Lily, never stopping to feel anything because feeling meant breaking. But here in safety, everything came crashing down. Ethan cried. He cried for his mother, for the childhood he'd lost, for the weight of responsibility that no 9-year-old should carry. He cried until there was nothing left. Then he wiped his face, checked on Lily, still sleeping, and started to look around. Books on shelves, food in the kitchen, a bed with clean sheets, safety. "We're going to be okay, Lily," Ethan whispered. "I promise." Back in town, the Iron Brotherhood was mobilizing. Reaper had contacted Rachel Thornton. She'd agreed to take the case. No charge. They met at the clubhouse. Rachel was 38, professional, sharp eyes that missed nothing. She'd worked family law for 15 years, seen the worst of what people could do to children. "The problem is proof," Rachel explained. Papers spread across the table. "We need evidence that Victor is still involved in criminal activity. The old gambling investigation isn't enough. We need something current." "We're working on it," Bull said. "We've got people watching Victor. He's been to 3 different locations in 2 days, all known gambling spots." "That's a start. But we need more. We need witnesses, financial records, something concrete." "Then we'll get it." Rachel looked at Reaper, really looked at him. "You understand what you're doing. If this goes wrong, if Victor presses charges, you could all go to prison. The club could be charged with a conspiracy. We know the risks, and you're still willing. Those kids came to us for help. We're not turning them away." Rachel nodded slowly. "Okay then, we do this smart. We build an airtight case, but it's going to take time." Time was something they didn't have much of. Victor was tearing the town apart looking for Ethan and Lily. He'd filed missing person reports, contacted every media outlet in the state, offered a reward, $5,000 for information leading to their safe return. To the public, he was a devastated father, desperate, broken, the kind of story that made people want to help. But privately, he was furious. Officer Brad Sullivan sat across from Victor in a bar downtown. Thursday evening, both men nursing drinks they didn't really want. "Those brats cost me everything once," Victor snarled, keeping his voice low. "I'm not letting them do it again." "You think they're still in town?" Sullivan asked. "Where else would they go? The kid's 9, doesn't have money, doesn't have family. He's hiding somewhere local." "What about the biker angle the kid was seen near their clubhouse?" Victor laughed, sharp, bitter. "Those degenerates, why would they help some random kid's number? Ethan's hiding somewhere else. Maybe a church, a shelter, somewhere he thinks I won't look." Sullivan didn't look convinced, but he nodded. "I'll keep my ear to the ground. Someone will talk eventually. They always do." But Victor was wrong. While he played the victim, the Iron Brotherhood was building a case. Bull had tapped into his network. Ex-military contacts, people who owed favors. They were gathering information on Victor's operation quietly, carefully. Thursday night, Bull made his move. The poker game was in a warehouse on the industrial side of town. High stakes, invitation only. Bull had gotten an invite through a contact who owed him. A guy who knew a guy who knew the door code. Bull dressed the part. Leather jacket, dark jeans, cash in his pocket. Enough to buy into the game, but not so much he'd stand out. The warehouse was exactly what he expected. Concrete floors, metal walls, a single door with 2 guards, men who looked like they knew how to handle trouble. "Name?" one guard asked. "Morrison, Jake Morrison. Tommy sent me." The guard checked a list, nodded. Inside, 3rd door on the left. Bull walked in. The warehouse was bigger than it looked from outside. Rooms sectioned off with temporary walls. Sounds of voices, laughter, the shuffle of cards. He found the poker room. 8 men around a table, smoke hanging in the air, money stacked in the center. And there was Victor Kane, dealing cards like he owned the place. Bull took a seat, bought in, 2,000 cash, started playing. He was good at poker, better than most. Military taught you to read people, to spot tells, to know when someone was bluffing. But he wasn't here to win. He was here to listen. For 2 hours, Bull played cards and kept his ears open. Victor talked. The kind of talk that came when men thought they were among friends, secure, untouchable. Got a deal coming through Saturday, Victor said. Casual, like he was talking about the weather. Big payday, clear 20 grand easy. What kind of deal? Someone asked. Victor smiled, leaned back. The kind we don't talk about in mixed company. But later during a break, Bull overheard Victor on the phone, standing in the hallway, thinking he was alone. Yeah, Saturday night, both packages. The boy's smart, trained, could work for you maybe. The baby's harder to move, but premium price overseas, Eastern European market. Bull's blood ran cold. Packages, not kids, not children, packages. Victor was planning to sell Ethan and Lily. Price we discussed, still good, Victor asked. 150 for both, yeah, cash. Saturday at midnight, Pier 7. Bull had heard enough. He folded his hand at the next break, cashed out, left before anyone noticed. By the time he got back to the clubhouse, it was 2 in the morning. But Reaper was still awake, waiting. Talk to me, Reaper said. Bull told him everything, every word, every detail. When he finished, the room was silent. He's selling them chains, said, voice flat, deadly. He's selling 2 kids like they're cars. Saturday night, Bull confirmed. Midnight, that's 48 hours from now. We go to the cops, Viper said. With what proof, Reaper asked. Bull's word against Victor's cop friend, against the system that's already sided with him. Then what do we do? Reaper was quiet for a long moment, thinking, calculating. We go to Rachel, get an emergency custody hearing, use what we know to force the court's hand. That'll take time. Then we make time. Rachel, can you get a hearing scheduled? Rachel had joined them an hour ago, been listening, taking notes. I can try. Emergency motions, file first thing in the morning. If we're lucky, we could get in front of a judge by Friday afternoon, maybe Saturday morning. Saturday morning, Bull said. That's before the deal, before Victor can make them disappear. It's close, Rachel admitted. Very close, but it's possible. Then do it. Reaper looked around the room. We got 48 hours to stop this. Everyone clear on what that means. Nods all around. What about the kid? Ghost asked. Ethan, does he need to know? Not yet. Let him have one more night of peace. We'll tell him tomorrow. At the cabin, Ethan didn't know about poker games or trafficking deals or 48-hour countdowns. He only knew that for the first time in months, Lily was sleeping through the night. He sat on the porch, watching stars he'd never seen in the city. So many stars, like someone had spilled diamonds across black velvet. Ghost sat beside him, didn't say anything, just sat. 2 people sharing silence. Can I ask you something? Ethan said finally. Yeah. Why do they call you Ghost? Ghost was quiet for the long time. Ethan thought maybe he wouldn't answer. Then because I disappeared for a while, long time ago, had a life, a job, lost it all, came out here, stopped talking to people. Iron Brotherhood found me, brought me back. What job? Social worker. Ghost's voice was barely above a whisper. Worked with kids in the system. Kids like you. Ethan looked at him. What happened? Made a mistake. Didn't fight hard enough for a kid who needed it. Kid died. Wasn't my fault, they said. But it felt like it was. That's why you're helping us. Part of it. Other part is simpler. You reminded me why I got into that work in the first place. To protect kids. To be the one who shows up. They sat in silence for a while longer. I'm scared, Ethan admitted, about what happens next. That's smart. Fear keeps you alive. But you're not alone in this anymore. Remember that. Ethan nodded. Ghost, yeah, thank you. For the cabin, for everything. Ghost put a hand on Ethan's shoulder, squeezed once, then stood and went inside. Ethan stayed on the porch a while longer, listening to the night, to sounds that weren't sirens or shouting or the creak of footsteps he'd learned to fear. Just wind, trees, peace. Friday morning came too fast. Rachel filed emergency motions at 9. By noon, she had an answer. Judge Helen Brooks would see them Saturday morning. 9 a.m. emergency custody hearing. It was the best they could hope for, and the worst timing possible. 9 hours before Victor's deal. We need Ethan to testify, Rachel said. The judge will want to hear from him directly. He's 9 years old, Reaper said. You want to put him on the stand against a man who wants to kill him. I don't want to, but it might be the only way. Ethan's testimony combined with our evidence could be enough. And if it's not, Rachel's expression was grim. Then Victor walks out with his custody rights intact, and those kids are in danger. Reaper made the hardest call of his life. He radioed Ghost. Bring them back. We need Ethan for court tomorrow. The line was quiet, then Ghost's voice. Reaper, if we bring them out and this goes south. I know, but we're out of time. This is our shot. That evening, Ghost drove Ethan and Lily back to town. They stayed at a safe house. Katie's apartment, Bull's girlfriend, a nurse who knew how to keep secrets. Ethan was terrified. What if Victor finds out I'm here? He won't, Bull said. And if he does, he goes through us first. Reaper sat with Ethan, explained what would happen tomorrow. The courtroom, the judge, the testimony he'd need to give. Can you do that? Reaper asked. Can you tell a judge what Victor did? Ethan's eyes were huge. What if the judge doesn't believe me? Then we'll deal with that. But Ethan, you're not alone. When you walk into that courtroom, you're going to have an army behind you. Ethan thought about that, about these men who barely knew him, who'd risked everything, who'd shown up when no one else would. Okay, he said, voice small but steady. Okay, I'll do it. But that night, Ethan didn't sleep. He lay awake holding Lily, terrified of what tomorrow would bring. Around 3 in the morning, there was a knock at the bedroom door. Ethan, it's Chains. Can I come in? Yeah. Chains entered with 2 mugs of hot chocolate. He sat on the bed, handed one to Ethan. Couldn't sleep either, huh? Ethan shook his head. You know what Chains said? Every man in this club is scared right now, too. Really? Yeah. Scared we're going to let you down. Scared Victor's going to win. Scared we won't be enough. But we're showing up anyway. You know why, Tech? Why? Because being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing the right thing anyway. Tomorrow you're going to walk into that courtroom and tell the truth. And no matter what happens, you'll know you did everything you could. That's what heroes do. Ethan took a sip of hot chocolate. It was too sweet. Perfect. Are the Iron Brotherhood heroes? He asked. Chains smiled. Sad smile, knowing smile. We're just guys who've made mistakes, but we're also guys who know what it's like to need help and not get it. So when we see someone who needs help, we show up. Maybe that makes us heroes. Maybe it just makes us human. Ethan leaned against Chains' shoulder, this tattooed biker who smelled like motor oil and smoke, who'd made him hot chocolate at 3 in the morning because he knew a scared kid needed it. Thank you, Ethan whispered, for everything. Get some sleep, kid. Tomorrow we change everything. But sleep didn't come. At 2:15 a.m. Saturday morning, everything went wrong. Ethan woke to the sound of engines. Multiple engines. Close. Getting closer. He knew that sound. He'd heard it before. Victor's truck and others. Ghost burst into the room. Get up, now, we've got company. Through the window, Ethan saw lights. 3 SUVs pulling up to the cabin, men getting out, 6 of them, armed, and in the lead vehicle, Victor Kane. Ghost grabbed Ethan and Lily. Come with me. Stay quiet. He led them to a corner of the cabin, pulled back a rug, revealed a trap door, a root cellar underneath, built for exactly this scenario. Get in. Don't make a sound, no matter what you hear. Understand. Ethan nodded, climbed down. Ghost handed him Lily, then closed the trap door above them. Darkness. Complete darkness. Ethan could hear his own heartbeat. Lily started to whimper. Shh, Ethan whispered. Covered her mouth gently, not hard, just enough to muffle the sound. Shh, Lily, we have to be quiet. Please be quiet. Above them, the cabin door crashed open. Heavy boots on wooden floors. Multiple men. Voices. Check everywhere. Victor's voice. Cold. Angry. They were here. I know they were here. Sounds of destruction. Furniture overturned. Drawers pulled out. Glass breaking. Ethan held Lily tighter. She was squirming, wanting to cry. He rocked her, hummed so softly it was barely audible. A lullaby their mother used to sing. Please don't cry, he thought. Please, Lily. Just a little longer. Nothing, one of the men said. Basement. Checked it. Empty. Silence. Long silence. Ethan's arms were aching from holding Lily so still. His own breath coming too fast. Too loud. Then Victor's voice again. Fine, burn it. Send a message to those biker trash. This is what happens when you take what's mine. Ethan's blood went cold. The smell came first. Gasoline. Sharp and chemical. Being poured. Being splashed. Then light. Orange light flickering through cracks in the floorboards above. Heat. Rising fast. Smoke. Stay here until they leave, Ghost had said, no matter what you hear. But Ghost hadn't known they'd burn the cabin. Hadn't known Ethan would have to choose between following orders and surviving. The smoke got thicker. Lily started coughing. Small, desperate coughs. Ethan waited, listening. The engine started up again. Drove away. He counted to 100, then 200. Making sure they were really gone, then he pushed the trapdoor open. Smoke poured into the cellar. The cabin was burning. Fire spreading fast, already consuming the eastern wall. Ethan climbed out. Lily in his arms, stayed low, the way they taught in school, under the smoke. Made it to the door, outside. Fresh air. The cabin was fully engulfed now, flames reaching into the night sky, and Ethan was alone, in the forest, miles from anywhere. With a baby and no phone and men hunting them, he ran. Didn't know which direction. Just away. Into the trees. Following the sound of water he remembered from yesterday. The stream. Branches toward his clothes, his face. He held Lily close. Protected her with his body. Found the stream. Ghost had said, follow it downstream. It led to a road eventually. 5 miles maybe. Ethan started walking, then running. Lily crying now. Full voice, but it didn't matter. The men were gone. The forest was dark, cold. Every sound made him jump. Every shadow looked like Victor. He came to a wide part of the stream. Had to cross. The water was moving fast, high from recent rain. Ethan stepped in, gasped. Ice cold, up to his knees, then his waist. He held Lily above his head, keeping her dry. Safe. The current was stronger than he thought. His foot slipped on a rock. He went down, knee hitting stone. But he kept Lily up, even as water closed over his head, even as his lungs screamed. He kept his sister above the surface, found his footing, stood, stumbled to the far bank, collapsed in the mud. Lily crying, Ethan coughing, both of them soaked and freezing, but alive. I got you, Ethan whispered. I got you, Lily. He stood, started walking again. Had to keep moving. Had to get to that road. Dawn was breaking when he finally saw headlights. A truck, pulling over. Bull jumped out, ran to them. Jesus Christ, kid. Bull scooped them both up. We've been looking everywhere. Ghost radioed. Said the cabin was hit. We thought he didn't finish. Just carried them to the truck. Wrapped them in blankets. Drove. They arrived at Katie's apartment as the sun came up. Rachel was there. Reaper. Chains. Everyone. Ethan was shaking. hypothermia setting in. Katie examined him, then Lily. Both would be okay. Cold, scared, but okay. How did they find us? Ethan asked through chattering teeth. We don't know, Reaper said. But it doesn't matter now. What matters is you're safe. The trial's still on. 9 a.m., 3 hours from now. Ethan looked down. His hands were shaking. I can't. I'm too scared. What if Victor wins? What if the judge sends us back and he... Reaper knelt in front of him. Then we'll figure out plan B. But Ethan, you've already won. You survived. You protected your sister. You made it through the forest, through the fire, through the river. Victor threw everything at you and you're still here. But what if it's not enough? Then we make it enough together. Rachel sprawled papers across the table. Evidence, photos of the burned cabin, Bull's testimony about the poker game, financial records showing Victor's unexplained income, connections to Vinnie Moretti. We've got a case, Rachel said. Not perfect, but strong. With Ethan's testimony, we have a real shot. I'm scared, Ethan whispered. I know, Reaper said. But you're not alone, not anymore. Not ever again. Chains brought more hot chocolate. Katie found dry clothes that almost fit. Ghost arrived with Ethan's backpack. He'd grabbed it from the cabin before it burned. Inside, the stuffed bear from the toy drive. A little singed, but safe. Ethan hugged it. This bear that had started everything. That had reminded him the Iron Brotherhood had once been kind. Had given him the courage to knock on their door. We should go, Rachel said quietly. Court starts in 2 hours. We need to get ready. Ethan looked at Lily, sleeping now, exhausted, safe in Katie's arms, then at the men around him. These bikers who'd become his family, who'd risked everything, who'd shown up when no one else would. Okay, he said, I'm ready. And he was. The courthouse steps were crowded. Media vans lined the street, cameras everywhere, reporters doing stand-ups. This was the story of the week. Missing kids, biker gang, desperate father, all the elements for ratings gold. Ethan held Lily close as they walked through the crowd, Rachel on one side, Reaper on the other. Bull in chains clearing a path. Questions shouted from every direction. Ethan, why did you run? Are the bikers holding you against your will? Do you want to go home to your father? Ethan kept his eyes down. Didn't answer. Rachel had coached him. Say nothing until court. Let the evidence speak. Inside was quieter, cooler. The kind of institutional quiet that came with marble floors and high ceilings. Justice carved into stone above the entrance. Courtroom 3B, Judge Helen Brooks presiding. They entered through a side door, avoiding more cameras, more questions. The courtroom was already packed, every seat filled, standing room only in the back. On one side sat Victor, looking nothing like the man who'd burned down a cabin 6 hours ago. Clean-shaven, suit and tie, hair combed, the picture of a concerned father. His lawyer sat beside him, David Whitmore, expensive, the kind of lawyer who made problems disappear. Gray hair, sharp suit, sharper eyes. Victor's gaze found Ethan across the room. For just a moment, the mask slipped. Those eyes went cold, dead, promising things that made Ethan's stomach turn. Then Victor smiled, sad smile, broken smile, playing his part. Ethan looked away, focused on Lily. She was awake now, looking around with wide ease, too young to understand, old enough to feel the tension. You okay? Reaper asked quietly. Ethan nodded, didn't trust his voice. Rachel spread papers on their table, organized, professional. But Ethan could see her hands shaking slightly. This was it. Everything they'd worked for came down to the next few hours. Behind them, 10 Iron Brotherhood members sat in the gallery, all wearing their vests, all stone-faced, all there for one reason. At 9 a.m., exactly the bailiff stood, All rise. The Honorable Judge Helen Brooks presiding. Everyone stood. The judge entered. 60-something, gray hair pulled back, black robes, glasses on a chain. She looked like someone's grandmother, but her eyes were sharp, assessing, missing nothing. Be seated. Everyone sat. The rustle of clothing, papers, breathing. Judge Brooks looked over her glasses at the packed courtroom, at the cameras being ejected by security, at the two children sitting with a lawyer and a motorcycle club. This is highly irregular, she said. Ms. Thornton, you have 1 hour to convince me why I shouldn't order these children returned immediately to their legal guardian. Rachel stood. Your Honor, I have evidence that Mr. Kane is an unfit guardian and an active threat to these children's lives. Mr. Whitmore. Victor's lawyer stood, smooth, confident. Your Honor, this is a case of parental alienation perpetrated by a motorcycle gang with a documented history of criminal activity. My client has full legal custody. He's complied with every court order, and he's desperate to have his children home. We'll see. Judge Brooks gestured to Rachel. Ms. Thornton, present your case. Rachel took a breath, then began. For 40 minutes, she laid it all out. Victor's criminal history, 4 arrests for domestic violence, the conviction for throwing Lily against a wall, the prison sentence, the early release. She presented evidence of Victor's gambling operation, photos of him entering and leaving known illegal poker games, financial records showing $200,000 in unexplained deposits over 3 months. She showed connections to Vinnie Moretti, organized crime, money laundering, a network that extended far beyond simple gambling. Bull testified, described the poker game, the conversation he had overheard, Victor's plan to sell 2 children to a trafficking ring. Saturday night, midnight, Pier 7. Whitmore objected repeatedly. Hearsay, speculation, no recording, no proof. Some objections were sustained, others overruled. Judge Brooks listened, took notes. Her expression gave nothing away. Rachel presented photos of the burned cabin, explained how Victor and 6 armed men had attacked in the middle of the night, how Ethan and Lily had hidden, how they'd barely escaped. Objection, Whitmore said. No evidence connecting my client to this alleged attack. Could have been anyone. This motorcycle club has enemies. Fingerprints were found at the scene, Rachel countered. Mr. Kane's fingerprints on a gasoline can. Whitmore paused, just for a second. Circumstantial. It's evidence, Judge Brooks said. Continue, Ms. Thornton. Rachel presented everything they had, built a case piece by piece, but Ethan could see it wasn't enough, not quite. The judge's expression was skeptical, waiting for the piece that would tip the scales. Finally, Rachel said, Your Honor, I'd like to call Ethan Carter to the stand. The courtroom went silent. Ethan felt every eye turned to him, felt the weight of this moment. Everything depended on what happened next. He's 9 years old, Whitmore said. This is cruel and unusual, forcing a traumatized child to testify against his own father. Stepfather, Rachel corrected, and Ethan has volunteered to speak. Judge Brooks looked at Ethan, really looked at him. This small boy holding a baby, bruises still visible on his face from running through the forest, exhaustion in every line of his body. Ethan, the judge said. Her voice was gentler now. Do you want to testify? You don't have to. I can make this decision based on what I've heard. Ethan stood, Lily in his arms. I want to, Your Honor. I need to. Very well. Bailiff, please swear in the witness. Rachel helped Ethan to the witness stand. It was too high for him. They brought a booster seat, like he was a toddler. He sat, Lily on his lap. The bailiff read the oath. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Rachel approached, gentle, like she was talking to a scared animal that might bolt. Ethan, can you tell the judge what happened the night you came to the Iron Brotherhood? Ethan's voice was quiet, but clear. Victor came to the foster home that afternoon. He'd gotten out of prison. He said we were coming home with him. How did that make you feel? Scared, because Victor hurt Lily before. That's why he went to prison, and I heard him on the phone that night. He said he was going to finish what he started. What did you think he meant? That he was going to hurt Lily again? Kill her, maybe, like he tried to before. Tell the judge what happened when Lily was 2 months old. Ethan's voice got smaller. I was 7. It was late. Lily was crying. She was just a baby. Victor told her to shut up. But babies don't understand that. So she kept crying. He paused, swallowed hard. Victor picked her up. He was drunk, angry. He said something like, "I'll give you something to cry about." And he threw her. The courtroom was completely silent. She hit the wall, made a sound. I'll never forget that sound. Her skull cracked. There was blood. I called 911. Several people in the gallery were crying. One of the Iron Brotherhood members had his head in his hands. What happened to Lily? She had surgery, brain trauma. They said she might not make it, but she did, and Victor went to prison. And now he's out. Yes, ma'am. What did you do when you heard Victor say he was going to finish what he started? I waited until he was asleep. Then I took Lily and ran. I walked for 3 hours in the rain. I didn't know where to go, but I remembered the Iron Brotherhood. Last summer they did a toy drive. They gave me a stuffed bear. They were nice, and I heard people say they protect their own. So you went to them? Yes, ma'am. I knocked on their door at midnight and asked if they could hide my sister for one night. Rachel let that sit, then just one night. I didn't want to be trouble. I just needed her to be safe. I thought maybe I could figure something out. Find help somewhere. But they helped you anyway. Yes, ma'am. They fed us, gave us a place to sleep, made us feel safe for the first time in months. Rachel nodded. No further questions, Your Honor. Whitmore stood. His expression was sympathetic, understanding, but his eyes were calculating. Ethan, isn't it true you've been living with these bikers for the past week? Yes, sir. And isn't it true they've been telling you what to say, coaching you? No, sir. They told me to tell the truth. That's all. The truth, right. Ethan, your mother died 6 months ago, correct? Yes, sir. That must have been very hard for you. It was. And you've been in foster care since then, moving from home to home, unstable, scary. Yes, sir. So when these bikers offered you a place to stay, offered you attention and care, that must have felt good. It did feel good. They were kind. Kind enough that you'd say anything to stay with them. Even lie about your father. He's not my father. He's my stepfather. And I'm not lying. Whitmore smiled, gentle, like he was talking to a confused child. Ethan, isn't it possible you misunderstood what Victor said on the phone, that you were scared and your imagination made it worse than it was? No, sir. I heard what I heard. But you were traumatized by your mother's death, weren't you? The court records show you've been seeing a therapist. I saw a therapist twice. They stopped because the foster home said they couldn't afford it. Right, but you were traumatized. Grief can make us see things that aren't there, believe things that aren't true. Ethan's voice stayed steady. I know what I heard. Victor said he was going to finish what he started with Lily. I know what that means. Or maybe you heard him say something completely innocent and your traumatized mind interpreted it as a threat. No, too soon. Ethan, these bikers, they're not good people. They have criminal records. They're dangerous. Aren't they? They saved us. Or did they kidnap you? Take advantage of a scared, confused child? No. Ethan's voice got stronger. They helped us when no one else would, when the system failed us. When everyone said Victor deserved another chance, even though he'd hurt Lily before. The Iron Brotherhood protected us. They're not criminals. They're heroes. Whitmore changed tactics. Ethan, your stepfather loves you. He's told me how much he misses you, how he's changed. Don't you think he deserves a second chance? He had a second chance when he got out of prison, and the first thing he did was plan to hurt us again. That's your interpretation. That's what happened. Whitmore paused, looked at his notes. No further questions. But as Ethan started to stand, something inside him snapped. All the fear, all the running, all the months of being told to be quiet, to not cause trouble, to let adults handle things. Wait, Ethan said. I have something else. Judge Brooks looked up. Ethan. My mom, before she died, she left a note. Rachel's head snapped up. Ethan what? Ethan reached into his pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper. Worn, stained. He'd carried it for 6 months. Never shown anyone. Too painful. I found it in her room after. I've been carrying it. He unfolded it, his hand shaking. Can I read it? Judge Brooks leaned forward. Yes, read it. Ethan's voice cracked, but he read. To whoever finds this, I'm sorry, I tried. I tried so hard, but I can't protect them anymore. Victor will kill them, especially Lily. He hates her, says she ruined everything. I couldn't stop him before. I can't stop him now. They'll be better off without me. At least then maybe someone will listen. Please, please protect my babies. He will kill them. I couldn't stop him. Forgive me. Rebecca. Silence. Complete silence. Ethan held the note out. My mom knew. She knew Victor would hurt us. That's why she couldn't live anymore. Because she failed to protect us, and she knew what was coming. Judge Brooks took the note, read it herself. Her expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. This is dated 6 months ago, she asked. Yes, Your Honor, the day before Mom died. Whitmore stood. Objection. This wasn't entered into evidence. We haven't authenticated the handwriting. This could be anything. It's my mom's handwriting, Ethan said. I know my mom's handwriting. Judge Brooks looked at the note, then at Ethan, then at Victor. Victor's mask had slipped. His face was red, angry. He leaned over to Whitmore, whispered something harsh. We'll authenticate this, the judge said, but I'm admitting it pending verification. Anything else, Ethan? Ethan looked at Victor, really looked at him. This man who'd made his life hell, who'd hurt his sister, who'd killed his mother's hope. I'm not confused, Ethan said. I'm not traumatized into making things up. I know exactly what Victor is. He's a monster. And if you send us back to him, he will kill Lily. And probably me too. And then everyone will say they wish they'd listened to the 9-year-old who tried to tell him the truth. He sat back down, held Lily close. Thank you, Ethan, Judge Brooks said quietly. You may step down. Ethan returned to his seat. Rachel squeezed his shoulder. Reaper nodded. Behind them, the Iron Brotherhood sat in absolute silence. But their presence felt like a wall, unbreakable. Judge Brooks called a 30-minute recess. I need to review this evidence. The wait was agony. Ethan sat in a side room with Rachel and the Iron Brotherhood. Lily needed a diaper change. Food. She was fussy, overtired. You did good, Reaper said. Real good. What if it's not enough? Then we go to Plan B. What's Plan B? Reaper's expression was hard. You don't need to know, but trust me when I say Victor doesn't get you. Not today. Not ever. At 10:15, they were called back. The courtroom was even more packed now. Word had spread. This was the ruling. Everyone stood as Judge Brooks entered. She looked older somehow. Tired. Be seated. Everyone sat. Judge Brooks took off her glasses, rubbed her eyes, then looked directly at Victor. I've spent 20 years on this bench, she said. 20 years trying to keep families together. Because I believe in second chances. I believe people can change. I believe in redemption. Ethan's heart sank. She was going to send them back. But I also believe in protecting children, and sometimes those two goals are incompatible. She picked up Rebecca's note. This letter breaks my heart. A mother so desperate, so hopeless, that death seemed like the only way to protect her children. And we failed her. The system failed her. She looked at Victor. Mr. Kane, the evidence against you is substantial. Your criminal history, your associations with organized crime, the attack on the cabin. But more than that, your own actions have condemned you. This child's testimony is credible, compelling, and corroborated by his mother's final words. Words that predicted exactly what Ethan says you plan. Victor started to stand. Your Honor, this is... Sit down. The judge's voice cracked like a whip. You'll have your chance to speak when you're arrested. Arrested, the word hung in the air. I'm issuing an emergency order removing Ethan and Lily Carter from your custody effective immediately. Your parental rights are terminated pending criminal investigation. You can't do this, Victor exploded. Stood. Whitmore tried to pull him down. I can and I am. Bailiff, those kids are mine. Those kids are children, not property, and they are in danger in your care. Two bailiffs moved toward Victor. He shoved one, tried to run. Chaos erupted, more bailiffs. Victor fighting, screaming. This isn't over. You hear me, boy? This isn't over. Ethan watched it all. This man who'd terrified him for years, reduced to a screaming, flailing figure, being dragged from a courtroom. Furthermore, Judge Brooks continued, raising her voice over the commotion. I'm ordering a criminal investigation into human trafficking allegations. FBI will be contacted immediately. As if on cue, two men in suits entered the courtroom. FBI. They'd been waiting. Victor Kane, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit human trafficking, money laundering, and attempted murder. They read him his rights as he was dragged out, still screaming, still threatening. His voice echoed down the marble hallway, then faded, then gone. The courtroom exhaled. Collective breath nobody knew they'd been holding. People were crying, strangers who'd come to watch, who'd expected a simple custody case and witnessed something else entirely. Justice, rare and beautiful and real. The courtroom was silent after he left, shocked. This wasn't how custody hearings usually went. Judge Brooks looked at Ethan. Her expression softened. Ethan, I'm placing you and Lily in temporary foster care while we finalize permanent arrangements. Ms. Thornton will oversee the placement. She paused, looked at the Iron Brotherhood, 10 men in leather vests, who'd protected two children when no one else would. Normally, I would never consider this, but these are not normal circumstances. I'm appointing the Iron Brotherhood Motorcycle Club as court-approved advocates. You will have supervised visitation rights, and I want monthly reports on these children's welfare. Reaper stood. Your Honor, we accept. Don't make me regret this decision. You won't. Judge Brooks nodded. Court adjourned. The gavel came down, and just like that, it was over. Outside, the courthouse steps were mobbed. Media, spectators, everyone wanting to know what happened. Rachel held up a hand. I'll make a brief statement. Then we need to get these children to somewhere safe. Cameras rolled, microphones thrust forward. Today, Judge Helen Brooks made a courageous decision. She chose to protect two vulnerable children over maintaining a system that had already failed them. Victor Kane's parental rights have been terminated. He's been arrested on federal trafficking charges. Ethan and Lily Carter are safe. Questions erupted. Ms. Thornton, what about the bikers? The Iron Brotherhood saved these children's lives. They did what the system should have done months ago. They protected the vulnerable. Ethan, a reporter pushed forward. How does it feel? Ethan looked at the camera, at all the cameras, at all the people watching. It feels like having a family again, he said, his voice steady, clear. The Iron Brotherhood aren't scary. They're heroes, my heroes. He looked at Reaper, at Bull, at chains and ghosts and all of them. They answered the door when I knocked, and they saved us. The video was on social media within minutes. By evening, it had 10 million views. By the next day, 50 million. The narrative had shifted. These weren't dangerous bikers. They were protectors, heroes, men who'd risked everything for two kids they didn't know. Donations poured in, $500,000 in a week, for legal fees, for victim support, for other kids who needed help. The Iron Brotherhood became a symbol, proof that heroes didn't always wear badges. Sometimes they wore leather and rode steel. 3 months later, Ethan and Lily were placed with the Johnson family, Sarah and Michael. No biological children. Big house in a quiet neighborhood with tree-lined streets. Backyard with a swing set they'd installed the week before the kids arrived. The first night, Ethan barely slept. Old habits, listening for footsteps, for Victor's voice, for danger that never came. By the second week, he started sleeping through the night. Lily, too. No more nightmares about walls and blood and men who hurt babies. Sarah Johnson taught Lily to clap. Michael taught Ethan to ride a bike. Normal things. The kind of normal Ethan had forgotten existed. But every Saturday, Reaper showed up at 9 a.m. sharp. Family Day, they called it. Ethan learned to work on motorcycles, how to change oil, fix a carburetor. Reaper taught him patience, precision, the satisfaction of fixing something broken. Lily learned she had 20 uncles who would drop everything for her, who brought her presents, who competed for who could make her laugh hardest. Slowly, both children began to heal. The nightmares faded. The fear loosened its grip. They learned what it felt like to be safe, to be wanted, to be loved. On Ethan's 10th birthday, the Iron Brotherhood threw him a party. The clubhouse decorated with streamers. A cake that Chains had made. 3 layers, chocolate, Ethan's favorite. Presents piled on the table. Tools from Reaper, books from Ghost, a leather journal from Bull. Write your story, Bull had written inside, so people know the truth. Katie had brought a new stuffed bear for Lily, to replace the one that had been singed in the fire. Lily clutched it, called it Bear. Her vocabulary was growing. She could say 5 words now. Ethan was first. Bear was second. Home was third. After cake, Reaper stood. The room quieted. Got something for the birthday boy, he said. He brought out a small leather vest, child-sized, but real leather, real craftsmanship. On the back, embroidered in silver thread, property of Iron Brotherhood, MC Little Brother Ethan. Ethan stared, couldn't speak. This makes it official, Reaper said. You're one of us, family, forever. Ethan put the vest on. It fit perfectly, like it was made for him. Because it was. The Iron Brotherhood members stood, surrounded him. Each put a hand on his shoulder. An old biker tradition, welcoming someone into the fold. You're ours now, Chain said. Ethan looked around at these men, these scarred, tattooed, dangerous-looking men who'd saved his life, who'd given him and Lily a future. Can I say something? Ethan asked. Go ahead, kid. Ethan took a breath. Before that night, I thought I was alone. I thought nobody cared what happened to us. I thought the world had forgotten about kids like me and Lily. His voice got stronger. But you didn't forget. You opened your door at midnight when a scared kid knocked. You protected us when everyone else said we were lying. You risked everything. Your freedom, your club, everything. He looked at Reaper. You taught me that family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up when you need them. Who stands between you and the monsters. Who fights for you even when it costs them something. Tears were running down his face now, but he kept talking. You all showed up, every single one of you. So thank you. Thank you for answering the door that night. Thank you for being my family. Thank you for saving us. The room was silent. Grown men wiping their eyes. Not ashamed. These were good tears, earned tears. Reaper pulled Ethan into a hug, this scarred, hard man holding a 10-year-old like he was precious, like he mattered. You saved yourself, kid, Reaper said. We just made sure you didn't have to do it alone. The party continued. Laughter, stories. Lily taking her first steps without holding on to furniture. Everyone cheering. Katie taking photos. Bull recording video. As evening fell, Ghost found Ethan on the porch, looking at stars, same as that night at the cabin. You good? Ghost asked. Yeah, really good. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Ethan asked, Ghost, what happened with that case, the one you told me about? The kid you couldn't save. Ghost was quiet for the long time. Found out last week. FBI investigation into trafficking uncovered that ring. Found 12 kids. Brought them home. The kid from your case? No, that kid's gone. But 12 others aren't. Because of you. Because your case reopened investigations. Shined a light on the whole system. Ethan absorbed that. So some good came from it. A lot of good. You changed things, Ethan. Not just for you and Lily. For kids you'll never meet. You made the world safer. We made the world safer, Ethan corrected. All of us. Ghost smiled. Rare smile. Yeah, all of us. Years passed. Ethan grew. Graduated high school with honors. Worked at the clubhouse garage by day. Took community college classes at night. Still quiet sometimes. Still cautious. But not broken. Never broken. At 17, he became a junior member of the Iron Brotherhood. Rode his own bike, a rebuilt Harley that Reaper had helped him restore. Helped with outreach programs. Talked to kids in foster care. Told them his story. Gave them hope. Lily grew up knowing she was loved. Protected. She had no memory of Victor. Of that night in the rain. Of the cabin burning. Just memories of a brother who'd carried her through a storm. And uncles who'd saved them both. She was 13 now. Straight A student. Played soccer. Wanted to be a lawyer like Rachel. To help kids like us, she said. One night, 17 years after that first knock, Ethan was at the clubhouse. Full member now, 26 years old. Vest worn and comfortable. He'd earned every patch, every mile, every scar. It was raining hard, like that night so long ago. A knock came at the door. Tentative, almost apologetic. The sound stopped every conversation in that room. Ethan looked up from the carburetor he was rebuilding. Met Reaper's eyes across the clubhouse. Reaper 60, now gray throughout his beard, but still strong, still standing. He nodded. Ethan stood. I got it. He walked to the door, heavy steel reinforced. Same door he'd knocked on 17 years ago, pulled it open. A young girl stood there, maybe 7 years old, soaking wet, shivering, fear in her eyes, holding a duffel bag like it contained everything she owned, which it probably did. Are you the people who help kids? She asked, voice barely a whisper. Ethan looked at her, saw himself. That 9-year-old boy with old eyes and a baby sister and nowhere left to run. The fear, the hope, the desperate courage it took to knock on a stranger's door at midnight and ask for help. He smiled, not scary, gentle. The kind of smile that said you found the right place. Stepped aside. Come in, you're safe now. The girl hesitated just for a moment, then stepped across the threshold. Behind Ethan, the clubhouse came alive. Chains already grabbing towels. Bull heating water, Ghost appearing from the back with blankets. The same ritual, the same care, 17 years later. Still showing up, still protecting, still saving lives one knock at a time. Reaper walked over, put a hand on Ethan's shoulder, squeezed once. Pride in that grip. Legacy. You got this, Reaper asked quietly. Ethan nodded. Yeah, I got this. Because he'd been this girl. He knew exactly what she needed, what she was feeling, what she was running from, and he knew with absolute certainty that she'd found her way home. The girl looked around the clubhouse, at the bikers in their vests, at the scars and tattoos and hard faces that had learned to be gentle. "What's your name?" Ethan asked. "Sophie," she whispered. "Sophie Martinez. I'm 7. And my stepdad, he said he's going to—" She couldn't finish. Started crying. Ethan crouched down, eye level, the way Reaper had done for him all those years ago. "Sophie, you don't have to be scared anymore. We're going to help you. We're going to keep you safe, I promise." "Really? Really? You know how I know?" Sophie shook her head. "Because 17 years ago, I knocked on this exact door. I was 9 years old, carrying my baby sister, running from a monster, and these men saved our lives. Now it's my turn to save yours." Sophie looked at him, really looked, saw the truth in his eyes. "You were scared too, terrified, but they protected me, made me part of their family. And now you're part of our family too." Sophie threw her arms around Ethan, sobbing, all the fear and pain and exhaustion pouring out. Ethan held her, this scared 7-year-old who'd found the courage to ask for help, who'd knocked on the right door. Over her shoulder, he met Reaper's eyes again, saw the same thing he'd seen 17 years ago. Determination, purpose, the unbreakable promise that the Iron Brotherhood would never turn away a child in need. The cycle continued. The legacy lived on. One knock, one child, one family at a time. Outside, the rain pounded. Inside, a scared little girl found safety, found hope, found heroes in leather vests who'd answer when she knocked. Always. Because that's what they did. That's who they were. The people who showed up when everyone else walked away. The people who stood between the monsters and the children. The people who looked at a scared kid and said, "You're safe now." Heroes, not in capes, not in badges, in leather and steel and scars and second chances. Heroes who understood that family isn't blood. It's who answers when you knock. Who stands with you in the storm. Who fights for you when you can't fight for yourself. And as Ethan led Sophie deeper into the clubhouse, as Chains brought hot chocolate and Bull found dry clothes, and Ghost set up the back room with a lock on the inside, the Iron Brotherhood did what they'd always done. They saved a life, one knock at a time, one child at a time, forever.